Our Old Testament reading this morning is from Isaiah chapter 6, verses 1 to 8. God calls Isaiah to be a prophet. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lofty, and the hem of his robe filled the temple. Seraphs were in attendance with him. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, and with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. And one called to the other and said, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." The pivots of the threshold shook at the voices of those who called, and the house filled with smoke. And I said, "Woe is me, I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. Yet my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." Then one of the seraphs flew to me, holding a live coal that had been taken from the altar with a pair of tongs. The seraph touched my mouth with it and said, "Now that this has touched your lips, your guilt has departed, and your sin is blotted out." Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I, send me." Psalm 29, hearing God's voice in the storm. Ascribe to the Lord, O heavenly beings. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory of his name. Worship the Lord in holy splendour. The voice of the Lord is over the waters. The God of glory thunders, the Lord over mighty waters. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. The voice of the Lord breaks the cedars. The Lord breaks the cedars of Lebanon. He makes Lebanon skip like a calf, and Syrian like a young wild ox. The voice of the Lord flashes forth flames of fire. The voice of the Lord shakes the wilderness. The Lord shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord causes the oaks to whirl and strips the forest bare. And in his temple all say, "Glory." The Lord sits enthroned over the flood. The Lord sits enthroned as King forever. May the Lord give strength to his people. May the Lord bless his people with peace.
These wonderful young people are the pastoral care workers. Daniel is at the Norwood Morialta High School, and Katherine is at the Magill Primary School. They do amazing works up there, and each time we meet at the Magill Interchurch Council, they will update us on what they've been doing for the year, and we ask them, is there any way we may need to support them in what they're doing? And that is what the council is for currently at the moment. So it is just a pleasure to have you both here today, and I've known them now since they started their work with us and with the school ministry group, and it is just wonderful to know that people like this are going into these schools and are ministering to the young people, but also to the families and to the staff there. It is just wonderful, the care that they can offer the people of that entire school community. So I'd like Kat is going to tell us now about what she does and how she came to be working at the Magill Primary School. Did you want to stand at the... I'll stand with you.
Good morning, everyone. Pastoral care was never a role I actually imagined myself I'd be in. It's not one that I woke up one day going, when I grow up, I'm going to be a pastoral care worker. But since I've been in my role at Magill for the last 2 years, I can't imagine actually doing anything else. I completed my psychology degree in 2015 and was wondering where I was actually going to go with what I'd just studied, and my previous church had an excellent relationship with their pastoral care worker in their local primary school, and they went, "You love working with young people, you really love children, why don't you give it a go?" And I was like, oh dear, that doesn't seem like a good idea, giving me that much responsibility. But it's actually something that I really love to do. I love working with young people, and I love the opportunity to speak love and to show God to them through how I act, not through how I speak. And I go into this school with this idea of being the person you needed when you were struggling, because I know school for me was not the most enjoyable time, and I know that for some students it's not the most enjoyable time for them either. And that's what really inspires me and encourages me to go in every day that I go in and actually do what I do, is walking alongside these people and being able to be that person who sits in that space when they feel like no one is actually there with them, and being able to be that person of hope to them. It takes a lot of prayer to be a pastoral care worker, because we're not in there on our own accord. Every one of us in the schools that we're in around the state is in there because God has called us for a time to be in that community and to bring what we can. And it's not something that you take lightly, being in a position where people will talk to you about whatever's going on in their life, and that can sometimes be a really hard space to sit in. It's actually a privilege, and it's something that I really love and feel motivated by. I've started a couple of programs since I've been at Magill in the last 2 years. I run a Year 7 cafe on Friday mornings, which aims to connect and provide them with a safe space to just come, grab a hot chocolate, grab a tea, have a chat before school starts, and give them a unique space to celebrate their final year of primary school. I've started a woodwork group to teach some different skills to some of our older students at lunchtime, and we have our annual skee ball competition, which brings a supportive and positive atmosphere to the playground at lunchtime, and it's amazing to see students rally around and support one another. And I can honestly say that I've been nothing but blessed since being in my role at Magill. Some days it's hard, but on the days that it's hard, you know that that is where God has called you to be. And on the days where it's positive and enjoyable, it's the days that bring you so much joy and so much hope. So I can't imagine doing anything else.
We will have the opportunity over morning tea to chat with Kat and Daniel and ask them any questions, or just be a great friend to them. So I invite you to all help out with that. And Daniel, go right ahead.
Okay, cool. Good morning, everyone. So I did write my stuff down. I get nervous. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Daniel Pilar. I'm the pastoral care worker at Norwood Morialta High School. And it remains to me a privilege to have been invited and welcomed to work in this community. And I would like to say thank you all for your continuous prayer and support towards my role in my school community. I'm passionate about school and education in general. For me, school is that one place where you can become whatever you want to be. It is the place where you can try, discover, and find something new about life and the universe. And I truly believe that school is a place to try and do something that is perhaps unlikely to happen again in the future. When I was a student, I got some of my poetry published. I got to participate in debates, develop a novel use for a new technology. I was a scientist, an engineer, a poet, a journalist, a musician, all that and more. I love this sense of wonder, and I hope that I would never lose it. Because sometimes, as we grow up, our worries begin to increase, our focus begins to narrow, and we lose some of our hunger for this wonder and discovery. As a pastoral care worker, this mindset of wonder, discovery, and hope for the future is where I hope to guide students in, to remind them that there is a hope in the future, that what they do matters, that they matter. Everyone is unique, everyone is different, and this is a great thing. Diversity brings about a variety of perspectives, something new to share, but it also comes with many challenges. Differences can bring about conflict and miscommunication, and indeed we live in an increasingly more complex world. Our society is becoming more global, and at the same time, people's mindsets are becoming more individualistic. This is hard, but I am blessed to have a support network and caring managers that guide me in navigating some of these challenges. I am especially thankful for the churches that have been consistently praying for me. Again, I would like to thank you for your prayers and your support. In Norwood Morialta High School, as the pastoral care worker there, part of my role is looking at how we as a school can enrich humanity. And this year, we are participating in the World Vision 40-hour Backpack Challenge in August, where students will be taking the challenge of emulating what it's like to have to suddenly leave their home and pack everything they need and love in a backpack. We also have a project starting in Term 3, where each class will be packing a shoebox with school supplies to be sent off to a South Pacific school. These projects get me really, really excited. And these are only 2 examples, and there are many more. My favorite moments are when I have conversation with students, and I understand the references that they use. And suddenly, there's a connection between us, and that's awesome. Whether it's games, TV shows, music, or anything else, this always gets fun. Dancing, music, and all sorts of things. So I'd like to leave you with 2 passages that are especially personal to me in my role as a pastoral care worker. And as it was in the reading in Isaiah 6, God asks the question, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I answered, "Here am I, send me." And here's my favorite verse, and I would currently call it my life verse, and I'm heavily paraphrasing here. It's in 1 Corinthians 9:21-22. To the scientists, I engaged in the sciences. To the artists, I engaged in the arts. To the philosopher, I engaged in their philosophy. I have become all things to all people, so that by all means I might save some. I do all this for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessings. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. So, 2 wonderful young people, and we're very sorry that Sheridan, who is the pastoral care worker at the Adelaide Youth Centre out at Katherine, was to join us today, but she was unable to get somebody to relieve her of her duties in her church. So we're hoping that Sheridan might be able to come along at another time. She's actually due to have a baby in about 3 or 4 weeks, so it may be a little while before we can get her here. But she does send her apologies, and believe me, when we're able to get Sheridan here, you will see why we give so much support to these young people and the work they do in the schools. So I'd like you to acclaim and thank you for what they do. And also to thank them both very much, because they are heavily involved in their own churches, and today they were able to say, no, we will go to Morialta and we will be with the people there. So thank you very much once again. Lovely. Thanks.
Our New Testament reading today is from Romans chapter 8, verses 12 to 17. Living in the power of God's Spirit. So then, brothers and sisters, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are children of God. For you did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you have received a spirit of adoption. When we cry, Abba, Father, it is that very Spirit bearing witness with our spirit that we are children of God. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ. If in fact we suffer with him, so that we may also be glorified with him. In this is the word of the Lord.
Thank you.